Part 1, The Return. Chapter 1, The Night Emily Came Home. The storm rolled into Seven Pines, Ohio, just past 1:40 a.m., thick clouds boiling over the horizon like bruised steel, lightning slashing the sky as if the world itself was tearing open. Inside a small house on Orchard Lane, Laura Harrow jolted awake to the smell of rain. Her husband, Michael, slept with one arm dangling off the bed, breathing deep and steady. Tonight was the same as every night had been for the past 11 years. Quiet, empty, and full of a pain that never healed. Laura tossed the blanket aside and stepped into the hallway. The lightning illuminated the framed photos lining the wall, a family of 3 before everything shattered. Laura, younger then, holding a 5-year-old girl with bright green eyes. Michael, laughing, lifting their daughter onto his shoulders. Emily. The name echoed in Laura's mind every day. Every hour. 11 years missing. 11 years with no leads. 11 years of detectives shrugging and neighbors whispering. 11 years of hell. She descended the stairs mechanically, the rain pattering against the roof like soft footsteps. She was pouring herself a glass of water when someone knocked at the front door. Not a light tap. A steady, calm knock. Laura froze. The glass almost slipped from her hand. Nobody knocked at their door at 1:47 a.m. Nobody visited anymore. Period. She set the glass down and approached the door slowly. Michael, she called upstairs. He didn't answer. Laura placed her hand on the cold doorknob and opened the door 2 inches. Lightning flashed. And Laura's world stopped. A teenage girl stood on the porch, soaked from the storm, strands of dark hair clinging to her face. She was trembling, not from cold, but from something deeper. Her green eyes lifted slowly to meet Laura's. Mom? Laura's breath ripped out of her chest. Her knees nearly buckled. Emily? The girl swallowed hard. I came home. Laura screamed for Michael, voice cracking with disbelief, and yanked open the door. She wrapped the girl into her arms, sobbing violently into her shoulder. Michael thundered down the stairs, half-dressed, thinking something was terribly wrong. He stopped halfway. His face drained of color. No, this isn't, Emily. Emily turned toward him with a small, hopeful, terrified smile. Hi, Dad. Michael grabbed the handrail to keep himself upright. My God, it's really you. The 3 of them collapsed into a shaking, tangled embrace. Lightning flashed again. And from the end of the street, someone, or something, briefly reflected in the wet pavement before vanishing. Emily did not look back. She did not dare to. Chapter 2, 11 years too late. Within minutes the house filled with chaotic energy, Michael calling 911 in a trembling voice, Laura wrapping Emily in dry blankets, Emily crying silently but smiling through every tear. The dispatcher sent police immediately. A missing child returning after 11 years was national news. But the girl sitting on their couch didn't act like she had been missing. She acted like she had simply come home from a normal day. When the police arrived, Emily answered everything with an almost eerie calm. Her age, 17. Her date of birth. Her full name. The day she went missing. And then came the question that changed everything. Emily, where have you been for 11 years? Emily blinked, confused. With my friends, she said softly. Detective Morales frowned. Where? she answered without hesitation. In Westlake. The detective scribbled the name, then paused. Westlake. In which state? Emily stared at him like the question itself was strange. Here, she said. 10 minutes east. By the lake. Detective Morales exchanged a slow look with the officer beside him. There is no town called Westlake anywhere in Meigs County, or Ohio. Emily frowned. What? Of course there is. I've lived there since I was 6. Michael's hands clenched. Laura's face paled. Emily, sweetheart, Laura whispered, Westlake doesn't exist. Emily shook her head. No. You're wrong. My school is there. My job is there. My boyfriend is there. She said the last words with a trembling smile, as if embarrassed. Detective Morales cleared his throat. Emily, could you tell us the names of your friends in Westlake? Emily nodded quickly. Mia Collins. Tyler Brooks. Mrs. Redwood, she's my English teacher. There's also... The detective raised a hand. Emily, none of those people exist. She stared at him in horror. What do you mean? They're real. I've known them for years. I saw them yesterday. Detective Morales leaned forward. Emily, yesterday you were still a missing child. Emily looked down at her hands. They shook violently. No, you're wrong. Check your maps. Check your GPS. Westlake is right there. You drive through Cedar Hollow, past the water tower. It's right there. The detective's face went still. Emily, there is no Cedar Hollow either. Emily's blood ran cold. Her heart hammered painfully. I don't understand. Laura hugged her, whispering, It's okay, baby, just breathe. But Emily couldn't. Her entire body trembled as she stared at the officers. I was there, she whispered. I lived there. I know those people. I know those streets. Detective Morales set his notepad down. Emily, if this place doesn't exist, then where have you really been for the last 11 years? Emily looked around the room. The couch. The photo frames. Her parents' worried faces. She whispered a confession that made every hair on their bodies rise. I don't know. Chapter 3, The Boy at the Window. The police left at 4:12 a.m. Emily tried to sleep in her old bedroom, but she couldn't stop shaking. The wallpaper felt wrong. The bed felt unfamiliar. The night was too silent compared to Westlake's crickets and street lamps. She finally walked to the window, hugging herself as thunder rumbled far off. Lightning lit the backyard. And Emily saw a boy standing at the edge of the trees. Soaked. Still. Staring directly at her window. Her breath hitched. Tyler? Another flash. The boy was gone. Emily stumbled back, choking on air. She grabbed her hair with trembling hands. No, it can't be. Tyler's in Westlake. Tyler's real. Her door creaked. Laura peeked in. Emily? Honey, are you okay? Emily forced her breathing to slow. Yeah, I'm just overwhelmed. Laura smiled softly. Sleep if you can. We'll talk more tomorrow. I promise we'll figure everything out. Emily nodded. When Laura left, Emily climbed into bed, pulling the blanket over her shaking body. Hours passed. Then, just as she began to drift off, she heard it. A whisper. Soft. Children's laughter. Carried on the wind through her open window. Emily sat straight up. Her heart dropped. Because the voices whispered a name she hadn't heard since yesterday. Emily, come back. She covered her ears, eyes wide with terror. No, please, not again. The voices faded. But Emily knew, with cold certainty. Someone else from Westlake had found her. And Westlake. The town nobody remembered. The town that didn't exist. Was not done with her. Not yet. Part 2, Tracks That Leave No Trace. Chapter 4, Tests and Tokens. By dawn, every TV crew that could be persuaded into a 2-hour drive had found its way to Orchard Lane. A news van idled under the sycamore tree. Reporters with earpieces murmured into their mics. Neighbors drifted to the curb in bathrobes, eyes reddened by early alarm and gossip. Laura sat on the back step, fingers slick from the cup of black coffee she kept twisting between her palms. Michael stood nearby with his phone pressed to his ear, giving terse updates to family members. Emily sat on the living room couch, a blanket pulled around her shoulders. She watched the flood of strangers as if through glass. Detective Morales had told them to stay put, promised to coordinate with county and state police. But in the small rhythms of Seven Pines, cellular reception was patchwork and bureaucracy ran on coffee and patience. Before 10, a woman from the county coroner's office arrived with a polite expression that didn't belong at a domestic scene. A social worker with a clipboard took Emily's vitals and asked gentle questions about diet and sleep. A volunteer from a charity organization hovered with tea and soft-voiced condolences. Emily answered all the formal questions with the same calm, but each answer that touched Westlake closed her face like a fist. "What's a Westlake High mascot?" the social worker asked gently. "The Herons," Emily said immediately. "Blue and gold. Our field smells like cut grass and oil from the tractor they used to fix the goalposts." The social worker blinked as if Emily had told her a joke she had to look up. "Can you draw your field?" Emily produced a pencil and drew an oval of patchy turf, the concession stand to the south, the small metal bleachers, a single towering oak beyond the east fence. She shaded a tiny square where she said Tyler always sat, the place by the track where he laced his cleats. When the sketch was done, she pushed it across the coffee table. Morales squinted. "That's detailed." "It's wrong," Emily whispered. "Because it's real to me. Please, just go look." Cedar Hollow Road. The water tower with the blue stripe. Morales had already asked his platoon to search county GIS maps, to overlay satellite imagery with local records. He stepped outside to confer with a tech on his phone, and the two of them came back in with expressions that made Laura feel the coffee go cold. "County records returned nothing," the tech reported. "No Westlake in Ohio records, nothing in the U.S. Gazetteer for nearby counties. Satellite overlay shows only farmland and a dormant gravel pit where she says the town lies." Emily's hand tightened on the blanket until her knuckles blanched. "But the road is there. It's right there. You drive past the old mill, there's a mailbox with a dent. There's a stop sign with graffiti on the back. You'd see it." Morales crouched in front of her, his professional calm softening. "Emily, listen to me. We're going to make sure you're safe. We'll check every call, every lead. But right now, tell me a little thing no one would know. Something only your family would know. It'll help us validate." She closed her eyes. "There's a chipped tile in the kitchen," by the sink. The third one from the left, at the very bottom. Grandma glued a penny under it once when she was angry, because she said pennies were unlucky underfoot. Laura's mouth fell open, tears started again without sound. She remembers the penny, she whispered. Morales nodded. We'll look at family records and start cross-referencing DNA as a safeguard. It'll take time. I'll also ask dispatch to check for anyone identifying a Westlake address. There are always explanations. Misremembered places, alternate names. We'll find it. When Morales left to call the county from his cruiser, Michael followed him to the driveway, where he stood with his head bowed and hands in his pockets. Laura sank to the couch next to Emily and took her hand. What do you remember about the last day? She asked, voice raw. Emily swallowed. It was a blue morning. Cold for June. I walked to school because my bike had a flat. Tyler said he'd fix it later. At lunch I dropped my sandwich on the bleachers and Mrs. Redwood laughed and said you always attract the pigeons, Em. After school I worked a shift at Harper's. Mrs. Harper said to keep the register neat. That night, we walked out by the lake to watch the lights across the water, just like always. Laura's breath hitched. Each mundane detail was a dagger, each ordinary image a confirmation. Who drove you home that night? No one, Emily whispered. I walked. I wanted to look at the sky. And then there was this smell. Like water and dirt and something metallic. Then I heard someone call my name and walking, I turned and everything blurred and there was a flash like lightning but in the ground, like it cracked for a second. And then I woke up on the side of a road I didn't know. I followed lights and a car stopped and someone told me I looked like I needed help. They drove me and then I was here. Laura tightened her grip. Did you see anyone? Anyone who looked at you like they knew you? Emily's mouth trembled. I saw someone at the edge of the trees when I looked back once. He looked like Tyler but older somehow. He didn't speak. He just watched. Laura let out a sound that was partly a sob, partly a laugh. Oh, my God. A cop walked in with a small brown envelope. We found this at the porch, he said, and placed it on the coffee table. Inside was a thin band of silver, delicately hammered, worn, engraved on the inside with faint letters. The officer handed it to Emily with reverence, like it might be a holy relic. Emily's fingers closed over the band. Her eyes widened. She looked at the engraving and whispered, TB to EH. Michael's face drained of color. That's Tyler's bracelet, he said, and the world grew very small in the room. How did it get here? Laura asked. The officer shrugged. No prints so far. Neighbor said when she came out to get the paper at dawn, it was propped on the porch railing with a note that just said, tell her. She brought it in. We didn't open it. Emily turned the bracelet in her hand until the letters blurred into a chain of light. The leather strap of the original bracelet, if that's what it was long gone, only the metal remained. Something about the metal made the air in the room feel thinner. That proves something, Emily said, voice a brittle thread. It proves Westlake touched me. Even if it doesn't appear on a map. Morales came in from the cruiser, reins still on his shoulders. We confirmed with local hospitals and interstate checkpoints. There was a young woman matching Emily's description found wandering near a rest stop at mile marker 86 at 3 in the morning. Officer on duty took her to the county line. He had no record of where she'd come from before that. We've got a temp check on her at the hospital to rule out concussion or exposure. We'll run DNA samples for a match, but, he added, softer, for now, this bracelet helps. News headlines blossomed within hours, small-town channels and regional feeds, tentative national interest. Missing teen returns after 11 years, trended and then became a ripple of speculation about cults, time slips, serial abductors. The FBI liaison called and asked for a secure conference room. At 2 in the afternoon, a kid from the high school, Zach, who'd been on Emily's middle school soccer team, pulled up to the curb and stumbled toward the porch, rain plastering his hair. He shouted, as if she might vanish at the wrong move. He was pale as a sheet and had the desperate, loud energy of someone who'd spent the morning pacing. Emily went to him slowly. When their eyes met, she saw something in his expression that made her stomach drop. "You remember Westlake?" she asked before she could stop herself. His eyes darted away as if he'd been confronted. No, he swallowed. No, I don't. I mean, my parents say there's no Westlake. But, he looked at the bracelet in Emily's hand and then at the porch. "Do you have an extra pair of cleats?" Emily let out a breath she didn't know she'd been holding. "No. Not yet. But tell me, do you remember anything about a blue and gold flag? The song we sang? The smell of the concession stand?" Zach's lips trembled, he closed his eyes. "There's a taste at the back of my mouth, like funnel cake and cheap soda. I can almost see a field. But my dad laughed when I mentioned it. Said I was probably thinking of a fair we had when I was a kid. I can't be sure." That evening, when the county sent a press release and the TV crews packed up for the night, a single unmarked car idled on the far side of the street. A young woman stepped out and walked up the lawn with long, measured strides. She carried a stack of folded papers and a plastic folder. Her name tag read, Marcia Brooks, Cold Case Review. She was the kind of professional who smelled faintly of espresso and unsent mail. Her shoes were practical and black scuffed. When she approached the porch, she did not glance at cameras. She only looked at Emily and took a breath that tasted like work. "Miss Harrow," she said in a voice like brass. "I'd like to ask you some questions. For the record." Emily nodded, hands folded together, fingers worrying the bracelet. She did not feel like a subject, she felt like a paper in a stack someone else was reading. Marcia opened her folder. "We reopened your file this morning as soon as the report came in. Simple procedure, family wants privacy but we don't have answers. I'm going to ask you the same things we asked the first day you disappeared, if that's okay." Emily swallowed. Marcia smiled, professional and gentle. "Start at the beginning." And Emily did. She told them about the herons, the blue and gold, the smell of the concession stand. She told them about Mrs. Redwood and Harper's Cafe. She told them about Tyler and the oak tree beyond the field. She told them about the flash in the ground and waking up on the side of the road. When she finished, Marcia closed her folder and sat very still. "You're not the first to come back with memories of a place that leaves no record," Marcia said. "There are older cases where witnesses describe towns or neighborhoods that do not appear in records. Usually they are dismissed as confabulation, suggestion, or shared trauma. But sometimes," she stopped and chose her phrasing, "sometimes those memories show up in multiple, unrelated people. That makes the case different." Emily's heart skipped. "What do you mean, multiple people?" Marcia's eyes were steady. We interviewed a woman in a neighboring county this afternoon. Her name is Janice Rollins. She came to the sheriff's station and asked about you because she says she remembers a little girl who used to live in Westlake a long time ago. She gave us a description that matched your childhood photo to the point where when we pulled your mother's old photo album it matched. Janice said she'd been thinking of the town herself and had started. Marcia's hand brushed the folder like brushing dust, sketching streets she thinks she remembers. She was adamant it had a water tower with a blue stripe. We haven't contacted her yet. We wanted to verify with you first. Emily's breath quickened. Another person remembers? Marcia nodded. We tried to be discreet. We don't know what this means yet. But if more people start remembering the same place, if memories of it show up across independent witnesses, that's statistically significant. We don't know whether this means there was a physical place that was somehow wiped from maps, or some shared experience, or something else entirely. That's why we're here. Laura looked at her daughter and then at Marcia. If there's anyone who can find hidden things, it's you, she said, voice brittle with hope and fear. Marcia gave a small, sorrowful smile. I don't have answers yet. But start keeping things, small tokens, dates, any sensory detail. If Westlake touches reality at all, traces might remain. That night, Emily lay awake and thought of Tyler at the edge of the trees. She pressed the bracelet to her chest until the metal warmed from her skin. Outside, somewhere beyond the porch light, a dog barked and a train that should not have run through Seven Pines groaned in the distance. In her head, Westlake blinked into being, bright banners, the herons blue and gold, the chant of kids on a Friday night, and then flickered out like a faulty bulb. She slept for only an hour. At 2 a.m., the phone in the kitchen rang. Laura answered, voice small in the dark. On the other end, a voice barely more than a whisper said, tell Emily to look out the window at midnight. He's back. The line went dead. Laura's hand trembled against the receiver. Emily slept through it. But when midnight came again 3 days later, she woke to the light of a phone screen buzzing on the nightstand where she'd left it that morning. A text, from an unknown number. He's at the corner of Cedar and Mill. Don't go alone. She frowned. She typed back a single word. Who? The reply was instantaneous. Tyler. Her chest clenched. She stood, heart hitting ribs like a frightened bird, and pushed back the curtains. Across the street, at the edge of the sycamore's shadow, a silhouette waited. Not a boy, no, the shape was too lean and too still. It blinked in the porch light as if it were trying to decide whether to step forward. Emily pulled the blanket tight and sat very still, feeling like the center of a story someone else had written and left half-finished. Outside, a car passed the curb and the silhouette vanished into the dark like smoke absorbed by the night. Emily exhaled. This case was no longer only a family's miracle or a town's curiosity. It was a door opening somewhere in the world, and whatever lay on the other side did not care whether anyone believed maps. Part 3, The Map That Shouldn't Exist. Chapter 7, The Woman Who Remembered Too Much. The next morning brought cold air, the kind that bites the lungs. A black SUV rolled up to Orchard Lane, windows tinted, engine too quiet for a regular county vehicle. From it stepped Janice Rollins, the woman Marcia Brooks had mentioned. She walked like someone carrying a story in her bones. Early 40s. Tired eyes. Dark hair braided back like she'd done it in a hurry. A notebook clutched under her jacket as if anyone might steal it. When she stepped into the Harrow living room, she froze. Her gaze shot straight to Emily. "Oh my God," Janice whispered. "It is you." Emily stiffened. "You, remember me?" Janice nodded, breath trembling. "You used to sit with my little brother at the bus stop. He thought you were the bravest kid because you weren't afraid of the heron nests by the lake." Emily felt like the floor dropped under her. For a second she couldn't speak. "What's your brother's name?" she asked slowly. Janice smiled sadly. "Evan Rollins." Emily blinked. Evan Rollins. A name from long afternoons in a sunlit lake town. A name tied to laughter. To skipping rocks. To fireflies. A name that should not exist. Emily sat heavily on the couch. Laura squeezed her hand tightly. Janice opened her notebook. Its pages were filled with sketches, street corners, a diner with a blue awning, a water tower with a diagonal stripe. "This is Westlake," Janice said quietly. "Or the pieces I remember." Detective Morales paced behind her, tension radiating off him. Janice flipped to an old photograph, grainy, Polaroid style. 3 children, maybe ages 6 to 8, sitting near a lake shoreline. Emily gasped. She recognized all 3 faces. One of them was her. "This was taken when I was in 3rd grade," Janice said. "At a place my parents called Westlake. But when we moved away and came back 10 years later, the town was gone. Not just different, gone. Gone. No sign it ever existed." Morales leaned forward. "How do you know the photo wasn't from another town?" "Childhood memory is often." "Detective," Janice cut him off, "I spent 15 years researching missing towns. Ghost towns. Cancelled developments. FEMA demolitions. Nothing matches Westlake. It's like it slipped through the cracks of the world." Emily whispered, "I wasn't imagining it then. It was real." Janice held her gaze. "Emily, Westlake was real for us. But it's not real for the world." Emily swallowed hard. "But, why did it disappear?" Janice hesitated. Then she flipped to a final sketch, one that made every person in the room fall silent. It was a drawing of something tall. Humanoid. But wrong. A shadow figure standing on a road, its limbs too long, its posture too still, its head tilted at an angle impossible for a human neck. Emily's heartbeat became thunder. "I saw him," she whispered. "I saw him in the trees. That night I came home." Janice nodded slowly. "I think that thing has something to do with Westlake vanishing. And with you being taken." The room grew colder. Morales rubbed his face. "All right. Enough. I'm calling for federal support." But before anyone could speak, Emily covered her mouth. Her eyes filled with fresh terror. I remember something else," she whispered. The room leaned toward her. "What?" Janice asked gently. Emily's voice was faint, trembling. "Westlake had a rule." "What rule?" Emily's voice cracked. "No one leaves alone." Chapter 8, The Search Zone. By noon, the FBI had deployed drones, ground teams, mapping experts, and an entire mobile station. Cedar Hollow Road, the place Emily insisted led to Westlake, was cordoned off. Yellow tape. Patrol cars. Officers looking confused but obedient. Emily sat in the back seat of a cruiser, watching technicians argue over a satellite map. Her skin prickled. Something felt wrong in the air. Not dangerous. Not threatening. Just wrong. A wind passed through the trees, carrying a smell of lake water and damp earth, like the air she knew from childhood in Westlake. Emily leaned forward, pressing her forehead against the glass. "Can you smell that?" she whispered. Officer Daniels in the driver's seat sniffed. "Just rain." "No," Emily whispered. "It's lake. You know, that smell when the water's still warm from the sun but the wind is cold." Officer Daniels chuckled. "Kiddo, the nearest lake is 14 miles away." Emily frowned. "Not the lake, you know." Before Daniels could respond, a team radio blared. "Sector 6, we've got something." Daniels jolted, grabbed the radio. "What is it?" "Static." "Then." "We found a road." Emily's heart slammed. Her skin flushed cold. "Cedar Hollow?" Daniels asked. Another pause. Then Agent Fuller's voice came through, quiet and shaken. "There is no road on the map, but we're standing on it." Emily leaned forward, eyes wide. "Where is it? Where did they find it?" Fuller answered. "Coordinates match the place Emily described. But, the road is only about 100 feet long. After that it's fog. Thick fog. We can't see through it." Emily's pulse quickened. Fog. Westlake always had a fog boundary in the early mornings. A fog that never moved toward the houses, only outward. "Let me go there," Emily whispered. "I can show you." "No," Daniels snapped. He turned off the radio and looked back at her. "You're not stepping into unknown territory. You just got home." Emily stared at him, jaw trembling. "I came from the other side of that fog." Daniels opened his mouth to argue. But something slammed into the roof of the cruiser. Both of them froze. Another impact. Heavier. Like a fist. No, like a foot. Daniels grabbed his gun. "Stay here." Emily's heart pounded. He stepped out. Looked around. Nothing. Silence. He walked around the car, gun raised. Emily felt like her heart stopped. A shadow slid across the fog. Just at the tree line. Something elongated. Something moving too smoothly. Emily felt the world narrow, her breathing sharp. It was watching them. Watching her. She whispered a name she didn't mean to say aloud. "Tyler?" The shadow reacted. Not by stepping forward, but by tilting its head. A slow, deliberate tilt. Like it recognized her. Daniels suddenly shouted, "Get back, now!" But Emily was already frozen. The shadow glided backward into fog. And vanished. Daniels rushed back into the cruiser, slamming the door. His hands shook as he locked every entry. "What the hell was that?" he gasped. Emily whispered. "That thing, that's not Tyler." Daniels swallowed. "How do you know?" Emily closed her eyes. And tears finally fell. Because Tyler never tilts his head like that. Chapter 9, The Impossible Footprints. The fog rolled deeper into the woods, thick as cotton and twice as suffocating. FBI ground teams stepped toward it cautiously. Agents in tactical gear. Thermal scanners. Drones humming overhead. But the fog swallowed everything. Thermals, blank. Drones, lost signal. LiDAR, scrambled. Agent Fuller knelt by the ground and touched something that made his stomach drop. "Footprints," he whispered. Morales crouched beside him. "Animal?" Fuller shook his head. "No." He pointed at the prints. "Long. Narrow. Not barefoot. Not a shoe. Something shaped like a foot, but elongated, leaving deep impressions." "Human?" Morales asked. Fuller swallowed. "I don't know." Then Emily's voice sounded behind them. "They're wrong." Morales spun. "Emily! You're not supposed to be out here." Daniels had followed with her reluctantly, unable to stop her determination. Emily knelt by the footprints, hands trembling. "Tyler used to walk with his toes angled slightly outward," she whispered. "These aren't his." Morales frowned. "Emily, you understand what you're saying? That something else came through that fog?" Emily nodded slowly. And then she added something that made both agents freeze. "These footprints don't belong to anything from here." Morales stiffened. "Meaning?" Emily stared into the fog. Her voice was cold, hollow. "Meaning whatever walked out of Westlake wasn't human." Chapter 10, The Unmarked Road. By evening, Westlake had become a federal operation. Roadblocks. A temporary command center. Special investigators. Journalists kept far away. Emily sat in a tent with Janice Rollins, sketching the lake's shoreline again and again. Every sketch looked slightly different, even though Emily swore they were identical. Janice leaned in. "Emily, your memory is shifting." Emily looked exhausted. "It's like Westlake is changing as I remember it. Like the town doesn't want to be pinned down." Janice nodded slowly. "That's what happened to me too. I could never draw the same road twice." Emily's grip tightened around the pencil. "Janice, what happens if I forget it completely?" Janice looked at her with heartbreaking honesty. "I think Westlake disappears for good when no one remembers it." Emily shivered. "So it needs us, to survive?" Janice hesitated. "I don't know if it needs us, or traps us." Emily stared at the fog-wrapped road. "What if we didn't leave voluntarily?" she whispered. Janice swallowed. "What do you mean?" Emily's voice cracked. "What if we were part of the town? Not taken from here, but brought home there?" Janice froze. "You think Westlake wasn't a mistake?" Emily shook her head, tears forming. "I think Westlake was a place we were chosen for." And then she added, "I think it's choosing again." The tent lights flickered. Outside the fog pulsed. And in the distance, something whispered Emily's name. Not a scream. Not a call. A beckoning. Emily. But it wasn't Tyler's voice. And suddenly, terrifyingly, Emily knew what memory was coming next. The real reason she vanished 11 years ago. Not the walk home. Not the lake. Not the flash. Something else. Something she had buried. She whispered. "I remember what happened that night." Janice tensed. "Emily, what did you see?" Emily looked up, tears falling silently. "I didn't disappear." Her voice shook. "I was taken." Part 4, The Night 11 Years Ago. Chapter 11, The Memory That Wouldn't Stay Buried. Emily sat on the cold folding chair in the center of the FBI command tent, her fingers gripping the metal edge. Marcia Brooks and Detective Morales stood across from her, their notebooks ready. Janice stayed beside her like a grounding weight. Emily's breaths were shallow. Her pulse hammered in her ears. Her hand still held Tyler's bracelet, warmed by her palm. "Emily," Marcia said softly, "you said you remember something from the night you disappeared." Emily nodded slowly. "It came back when I saw that thing in the fog." Her voice cracked on the word thing. Marcia crouched down to her eye level. "Tell us what you saw." Emily swallowed, closed her eyes, and let the memory flood back. "I was walking home from the lake," she began. "I'd stayed late talking with Tyler. We sat on the rocks and talked about school, and futures, and stupid things kids talk about, how we wanted a car, where we'd live one day." A small, sad smile crossed her lips. "He gave me the bracelet that night," she said, lifting the silver band. "He said it was something he made himself, hammered from scrap metal. He said he liked how it looked on me." She paused. And then, the fog came. Marcia exchanged a troubled look with Morales. "Fog," he repeated. Emily nodded. "But not normal fog. It came fast. Like rolling smoke, but silent. And when it got close, everything went quiet. The crickets. The water. Even the wind." Her hands shook. I turned around and saw a shape. Tall. Thin. Wrong. It wasn't Tyler. But it knew me. I felt it knowing me. Janice placed a steadying hand on her back. Emily continued. "I ran. I remember running down the path by the tall oak. I remember tripping. I remember scraping my knee. And then..." She stopped. Her breath caught. Marcia gently prompted, "Emily, what happened next?" Emily's voice dropped to a whisper. I heard my own voice behind me. Morales blinked. "Your voice?" Emily nodded, trembling. "Yes. Not calling for help. Not crying. Just saying, 'Wait.' In my exact voice. Like there was another me in the fog." The tent grew so silent the generators outside felt crushingly loud. Emily continued, tears slipping down her cheeks. "I turned around. And I saw her." Morales stepped forward. "You saw yourself?" Emily gave a small nod. "She looked exactly like me, but older. Maybe a year or two. Same hair. Same bruise on the knee I'd gotten earlier that week." She walked toward me calmly while I panicked. Marcia whispered, "A doppelganger?" Emily choked on a laugh. "It wasn't just a double. It felt like she was the one supposed to be there, and I was the copy." The tense air grew heavier. "What did she do?" Janice asked softly. Emily wiped her face. She touched my hand. And when she did, everything went white. Like lightning but silent. Like the world switched off. Morales asked, "Do you remember anything after that?" Emily's voice was hollow. "Yes." She looked up at them with terrified clarity. "I remember waking up in Westlake." Chapter 12, The Inside of an Impossible Town. Emily clasped her hands together tightly, as if afraid they might vanish. "In Westlake," she said slowly, "it was morning. Bright. Kids running to school. Cars on the road. Smell of pancakes from the diner." She paused. "But when I tried to remember my life before waking there, it felt foggy. Like a dream I couldn't quite reach. I didn't forget everything right away. Just little things at first, my teacher's name, my favorite shows, what our old house looked like. Her voice tightened. But the more time I spent in Westlake, the more real it felt. More real than here. Janice nodded. It felt like home. Emily looked at her with deep sadness. Did you forget your real home too? Janice hesitated, then nodded. Piece by piece. Emily continued. And there was a boy at school who joked that Westlake was a town for orphans. We laughed because we didn't think he meant it literally. She swallowed. But now I think he did. Morales scribbled details frantically. Marcia leaned in. Emily, were there adults? Parents? Families? Emily hesitated. Yes, but they didn't talk about their pasts. Ever. And when kids asked too many questions, things got strange. How? Marcia pushed. There was this rule, Emily said quietly. Everyone knew it. But nobody said it aloud. Janice nodded. I remember something like that. Emily exhaled. No one leaves Westlake unless someone replaces them. The air in the tent suffocated them all at once. Morales dropped his pen. Marcia froze. Janice closed her eyes as if the words struck something deep. Emily forced herself to finish. I think I replaced someone when I was taken. Chapter 13, The Call That Shouldn't Have Reached Her. Agent Fuller burst into the tent. Brooks! Morales! You need to hear this. They rushed out with Emily and Janice close behind. Inside the command vehicle, a radio operator pointed to a flashing line on the receiver. It happened again, he said. A call came through. Marcia stepped forward. From who? The operator swallowed. It wasn't a number. No incoming ID. No coordinates. Morales frowned. Then how the hell? It wasn't routed through the cell network, the operator interrupted. It came through the emergency line. Emily's heart sank. Play it, Marcia ordered. The operator pressed a button. Static. Then a voice. Emily, can you hear me? Emily stumbled backward, hand over her mouth. That's Tyler, she whispered. The voice continued, frantic but familiar. Emily, do not follow the road. Don't let them bring you back. They know you left. They're angry. I'm trying to hold them back but... Static swallowed his words. Then. They're not done switching yet. Emily felt her knees go weak. Marcia's pen dropped from her fingers. Morales muttered, no way. No way a missing person from an imaginary town just called our emergency channel. Emily stepped closer to the radio. Tyler. Tyler, please, can you hear me? She begged. The static hissed. Then. Emily, they're coming. The line went dead. Emily staggered back, her breath shaking violently. She grabbed the table to stay upright. Janice wrapped an arm around her, steadying her. Her voice was low, fierce. This isn't just memory. This is contact. Emily whispered, they want someone else to take my place. Marcia turned to her sharply. Emily, you said no one leaves Westlake unless someone replaces them. Emily nodded. Then who was supposed to replace you? Marcia asked. Emily's voice cracked as she answered. I think it was supposed to be Tyler. Chapter 14, The Boy in the Fog. As night fell again, the fog thickened along Cedar Hollow like a curtain preparing to rise on a terrible stage. Emily, despite every warning, stood near the boundary with Janice and 2 agents watching over her. Her chest felt tight. Her skin buzzed. The smell of lake water seeped from the fog. She heard footsteps. Soft. Measured. Human-like. But not human. Then she heard it. A voice. Emily froze. Tyler? A shape emerged in the fog. Tall. Thin. But not wrong this time. He stepped closer. The fog parted around him. Emily's heart leapt. Tyler! She rushed forward. But Janice grabbed her arm. Emily, wait, look at him. Emily stopped. Tyler's face came into view. Older. Paler. Eyes dim but familiar. He looked like he hadn't slept in a decade. Emily, he whispered, you have to go. Now. Before it notices I'm gone. Emily's breath trembled. Tyler, what happened to you? He shook his head weakly. It doesn't matter. I broke the rule when you left. I wasn't supposed to let you go alone. Emily felt sick. Tyler, did you replace someone? Tyler hesitated. Then nodded. Emily shivered. Who? He opened his mouth. But before he could answer, something shook the ground. Hard. Trees trembled. Fog churned. The air thickened with a choking pulse. Tyler froze. Oh God, he whispered. It followed me. Emily grabbed his hands. What followed you? His voice came out as a rasp. The one who makes the switches. Emily's blood ran cold. Tyler pushed her back toward Marcia and the agents. Emily, run. Through the fog, a second silhouette formed. Much taller. Much thinner. Moving with unnatural smoothness. And it tilted its head. Just like before. Marcia grabbed her radio. All units, fall back. Fall back now. Emily screamed, Tyler! Come with me. Tyler stepped backward into the fog. If I leave, someone else gets taken. I won't let that happen again. Emily cried out, reaching for him. But the fog swallowed him whole. The silhouette behind him straightened. And the last thing Emily heard was Tyler's voice. Don't let it choose you again. Part 5, The Switcher. Chapter 15, The Creature with No Past. The fog convulsed like something alive recognizing a challenge. Marcia and Morales dragged Emily backward as the team formed a defensive line. Flashlights, rifles, floodlights, all shaking in the trembling air. But light barely touched the silhouette approaching. It absorbed it. Daniels whispered, horrified, "Oh my God, what is that?" The figure stepped closer, and its shape grew clearer. Tall. Thin. Limbs a little too long. Neck bending at angles no human body could survive. With every step, its form flickered. Sometimes taller. Sometimes shorter. Sometimes narrow as a shadow. As if it was trying shapes on. Trying to decide what it wanted to be. Emily's throat dried. That thing, that's the Switcher. Marcia swallowed. Switcher? Emily nodded slowly, tears forming again. Westlake's rule, no one leaves alone. Someone always replaces the person who leaves. Morales whispered, so, it chooses who replaces who. Emily whispered. It makes the replacements. The creature stepped into the floodlight, and everyone stepped back. It didn't have a face. Not a blank one. Not a smooth one. Just a shape where a face should be, a blurred area, like a long exposure photo. And that blurred shape turned toward Emily. Every agent raised their weapon. "Don't shoot!" Emily screamed, throwing herself in front of them. They froze. The creature tilted its head, the same unnatural tilt she'd seen 11 years ago. The same tilt she'd seen last night in the trees. And then it spoke. Not aloud. Inside her mind. "Emily Rowan." Emily staggered backward, clutching her skull. Morales shouted, "Emily! What is it doing?" She gasped, "It's talking." Marcia grabbed her. "What is it saying?" Emily's voice broke. "It's calling me unfinished." Chapter 16, The Unfinished Child. The switcher stepped closer. Every breath Emily took felt thin and wet, like trying to breathe underwater. Its voice, if it could be called that, pressed into her thoughts. "You left the place you were meant to stay." Emily shook her head violently. "No. Westlake wasn't real. It stole me." The creature tilted its head again. "A town is real if the ones inside it believe it. Westlake is a place made of those taken, those forgotten, those left behind. A town of exchanged lives." Marcia whispered, "Exchanged?" The creature continued. "Emily Rowan, your life was given to another. In return, you were given Westlake." Emily froze. What are you saying?" "Someone took your place here." Emily grabbed her hair, shaking. No, that's not possible, my parents would know." The switcher leaned closer. Its distorted face shifted, slowly taking shape, almost forming the outline of a small child. A girl. Emily's stomach lurched. She recognized the shape. Her younger self. No. Someone like her. A perfect copy. A replacement. Emily screamed. "No! I never saw a double again. I never." Morales cut in sharply, "Emily! What does it want?" Emily stared into the faceless blur. "It wants to finish what it started." Chapter 17, The Search for the Lost Replacement. The creature raised one long arm and pointed toward the fog. The gesture was unmistakable. "Come." Emily shook her head. "No. I'm not going in there again. I'm not going back." The creature's voice pressed into her skull again. "Exchange must be completed." Emily whispered, "No one is taking my place." But the switcher shook its head slowly. "Your place was taken 11 years ago." Silence. The world tilted around Emily. "What do you mean, taken?" she whispered. "Another child lived in your home." Emily's heart nearly stopped. "No. Loved your parents." No. Slept in your room." Emily fell to her knees. "I don't remember that. I don't remember any of that." Memories reshaped to fit your new life. Emily stared at the ground in horror. Who was she? The switcher's voice almost softened. "She was you. A version of you that stayed." Emily felt her entire world split. There were two Emilys. One taken. One left behind. And the one left behind. "Where is she now?" she whispered. The switcher responded. "Gone. Removed when you returned." Emily screamed. Laura's voice came behind her, raw and terrified. Emily. Emily turned. Her mother stood at the edge of the woods, face wet with shock. Emily, what is it saying? What does it mean someone else lived here? We never had, never. Emily sobbed. Mom. I think you don't remember her. The switcher added coldly. Memory and place shift together. That is how Westlake survives. Marcia stepped in front of Emily. What do you want with her now? The switcher's faceless head turned. Balance. Morales raised his gun. Balance how? She left alone. A switch must follow. Every agent in the clearing raised their weapon. Marcia shouted, "You're not taking her." The creature didn't move. Just whispered into Emily's mind. Then choose another. Emily gasped. What? The creature repeated. Someone must take your place in Westlake. Every agent froze. Morales muttered, horrified, "It wants a sacrifice." Emily whispered. "It wants a replacement." Chapter 18, The Choices That Shouldn't Exist. Emily shook her head violently. No. I won't choose anyone. The switcher didn't blink. Didn't move. Didn't breathe. Balance restores the town. One goes in. One goes out. Marcia whispered, "Emily, don't listen. This thing manipulates." But Emily looked around at the team, at her family approaching from the distance, at Janice trembling beside her. And she understood why the switcher had come. Why the fog grew thicker. Why Tyler warned her. Emily whispered, "Westlake is collapsing, isn't it?" The creature's answer rang inside her skull. Without balance, it cannot hold shape. Emily staggered backward. It wants me. It always wanted me. The fog swelled behind the creature. Shapes moved in it. Human shapes. Children. Teens. Adults. All half-formed. Flickering like dying film. Janice choked on a sob. Oh God, those are the ones taken. Emily whispered, "Those are Westlake residents." The switcher lowered its head. Choose who replaces you, or Westlake will come through. The fog behind it trembled. Dozens of shadows moved closer. Emily felt sick. I won't choose someone else to take my place. The creature's voice cut through her panic. Then choose yourself. Emily froze. What? You can return. Your parents will forget again. Your place will be filled. Emily shook violently. I don't want to go back to Westlake. The switcher stepped closer. Then someone else goes. Emily screamed. No. Stop. But the creature simply whispered. Choose. Emily collapsed. Janice grabbed her shoulders. Emily, listen to me. You don't choose anyone. You don't sacrifice yourself. We find another way. Emily shook her head helplessly. I don't know if there is another way. Then, suddenly, a voice cut through the fog. A voice Emily knew like the beat of her own heart. Yes. There is. Emily jerked her head toward the sound. From the fog, staggering, exhausted, bleeding, Tyler stepped out. Not the shadow. Not the half-formed figure. The real Tyler. Older. Thinner. Eyes sunken but alive. He fell to his knees. Emily. I know what to do. Emily screamed, running toward him. Tyler. She caught him before he hit the ground. He smiled weakly. "You didn't leave alone," he whispered. Emily's breath hitched. "Tyler, what do you mean?" He coughed. "I followed you that night. I wasn't supposed to." The switcher punished the town. It held me, until the balance broke. Emily shook her head violently. No, Tyler, don't." He gripped her wrist. "You can stop this, Em. But not the way it wants," she cried, voice cracking. "What way then? Tell me." Tyler leaned close. His voice trembled. "Break the rule." Everyone froze. Emily whispered, "Break the rule?" Tyler nodded weakly. "Yes. Don't replace anyone. Don't return. Don't let it choose. Break the thing that holds Westlake together." Emily looked at the switcher. Its shape flickered violently. "Unstable. Angry." Tyler whispered, "If the rule breaks, the town dies." Emily stared at the fog. At the creature. At the impossible road. Then she looked back at Tyler. "Will you come with me?" Tyler gave a tired, broken smile. "I've been trying for 11 years. Chapter 19, The First Crack. Emily stood. Tyler held onto her hand. Emily faced the switcher. Her voice shook. But it was steady enough to make the fog falter. "I will not choose anyone." The ground trembled. "I will not go back." The fog roared. "No one replaces anyone ever again." The switcher lunged. Agents aimed their rifles. But Emily stepped forward, eyes blazing. "The rule is broken." The fog behind the creature shuddered violently. The ground cracked. The shadows screamed in agony. And Westlake, the impossible town, began to collapse. Part 6, Collapse. Chapter 20, The Lunge. When Emily shouted, "The rule is broken," the fog answered like a wound opening. The switcher recoiled, all that smooth, inhuman patience cracking into staccato shudders. For a single, trembling second it seemed vulnerable, its flicker slowed, its long limbs trembled as if they had been puppeted by a cord that someone had suddenly snipped. Around them the fog screamed, but not with sound, it screamed with image. Faces flashed inside the mist, a dozen Emilas, a boy laughing on metal bleachers, a woman who baked too many pies, a child with cheeks full of freckles. For 11 years those faces had been folded into the fabric of Westlake, now the fold was tearing. "Now!" Tyler croaked, voice thin. He pushed himself to his feet, the effort visible in every inch of his body. He'd been hollowed out by whatever had kept him in that gray place, his clothes hung loose and his eyes were ringed by exhaustion and ruin. But there was a steel beneath it. Emily looked at him. "Tyler, no." He shook his head, a small, broken grin at the edge of his lips. "You don't get out by trading. We don't save people by letting others drown. You taught me that once, remember?" She did remember, a teenage conversation under an oak tree about fairness and cowardice. Tears started and she swallowed them. Tyler stepped forward toward the switcher, hands raised but empty. "You take me," he said. "Take me and let them go." The switcher's head cocked at the motion, it tasted something different, like a currency it had not expected. It advanced, long body moving with that inhuman glide. "Tyler," Marcia lunged, "No, don't." But Tyler's voice cut through the panic. "Emily, go. Now, run with Janice and your parents. Holler. Get them to the cars. Don't look back. She thought she'd ripped a hole in her chest. I won't leave you. Tyler's smile was terrible and bright. Then do what must be done. He shoved her toward the clearing. Emily grabbed his hand, squeezing like she feared he might vanish, and then she pushed him free. He did not resist. He ran straight into the fog, into that slick, hungry space that had been the town's skin for so many years. The switcher met him. For a breathless eternity they circled, one thing of shadow, one thing of bone and memory, and then the switcher struck. It was not a blow so much as a seizure. Tyler's body shuddered, his limbs bent in angles they were not meant to take, and his face flared with sudden, terrible brightness, like a lantern lit from within. For a split second the switcher's blank face reflected his, and in that reflection there was a name, and a life, and 1,000 small gestures no machine could manufacture. Emily, Tyler whispered, voice so thin she could barely hear it. Go. She ran. Chapter 21, The Unraveling. Chaos ripped through the clearing. Marcia and Morales screamed into radios. Agents shouted orders that matched no protocol in any manual. People fled down Cedar Hollow in fits and starts, headlights cutting arcs through the dense fog like knives. Behind her, Emily heard the thing scream, a sound like the white noise inside an old television turned to 11, layered with the cries of people finally being themselves. The fog bucked and peeled as if someone had taken a needle to a balloon. Polaroids of images, the old diner sign, the bleachers, a small girl's red ribbon, dropped from the air and scattered across the ground. Emily, milk-warm tear tracks on her cheeks, kept running. She did not look back until the clearing stung like a fever in her peripheral vision. When she finally did, she saw something she would carry forever. Tyler, kneeling. Not transformed into shadow, not smiling victoriously, just kneeling, and in his hands there was a small, bright object that had not been there before. It was the bracelet, TB2EH. He held it up like an offering. The switcher was folding in on itself as if someone had told a joke it hadn't found amusing. Its limbs thinned into ribbons of smoke, its faceless center wavered between 100 faces, none of them right, and then it burst inward with a soft, wet sound. The fog that had been a wall peeled back like a curtain. Through it, shapes moved and then blurred. They were people, blinking, rubbing their eyes, breathing. Emily reached the edge of the cedar grove where Janice stood with Laura and Michael. They were white as paper, hands trembling. Janice's voice broke as she named names, Mrs. Redwood, Mara. And bodies stepped into the clearing, people who looked like they had been pulled from paintings, a mixture of youth and age, confusion and awe. And Tyler, he stood shakily, hands still gripping the bracelet. He did not smile. He did not fall. He took a breath, deep and quaking, and for the first time in 11 years he exhaled as if something had stopped pressing on his lungs. He turned to Emily and mouthed, "Go." Emily collapsed into his arms. They held each other like drowning people who had found a plank. Sobs bubbled into the night. "What happened?" Morales asked, voice hollow. Janice's face was wet but clear. "It broke. It can't remake itself without a willing exchange." Ellis, one of the volunteers who'd quietly helped Janice collect photographs and notes the past week, stepped forward. He'd arrived at the edge of the scene moments earlier, eyes wide. "It could reconstitute," he warned. "It's not dead for sure. But it needs an anchor. A sameness. It's lost that now." Marcia's jaw tightened. It took a lot to collapse then. And it cost someone. Emily pulled back, chest heaving. Tyler, are you okay? He smiled, small and tired. I will be, he said. His voice had the thin, surprised warmth of someone who'd almost forgotten he had a name. They'll need help, Janice whispered. People who were taken, they're disoriented. Memory will come back in pieces. Chapter 22, The Morning After. When dawn arrived, it was clean and ordinary. Fog burned off into a bland blue sky and sun fell across the wet road like a benediction. News helicopters hovered, but the tenor had shifted from "miracle missing teen" to a mass event. Deputies ushered people back to their cars, families sobbed and embraced, EMTs checked vitals. Emily sat on the Harrow porch steps with Tyler beside her. He'd slept in the backseat of a cruiser for the few hours after the collapse, and now he looked older and softer. The edges of his youth had been rounded by whatever he'd given. His hands were calloused where the bracelet lay. Laura and Michael hovered like shadows that might become light. Their faces were washed with something like relief, but edged with a grief that had not been finished. Are you sure you're all right? Laura asked again. Her hands kept smoothing the hem of her sleeves like she could iron away the night. Tyler nodded. I'm okay. He glanced at Emily. You're okay? Emily shook her head once, hard. No. Not okay. Not yet. He squeezed her hand. We'll get there together. The county set up a reunification center at the high school gym. People who'd been residents of Westlake, 30 adults and 4 children, arrived in clusters, blinking and uncertain, and in time, memory seeds sprouted. Some remembered a little and laughed, others remembered a great grief and burst into tears. Janice gave morphine and hot tea and a stack of photographs to a woman who could not recall the face of her own son until she saw him standing on the other side of the folding table and recognized him by the way he rubbed his thumb against his second knuckle. Marcia set up a temporary committee. Morales stayed involved until the county spoke for them. The FBI booked rooms and counsel, the medical examiner set up interviews. A psychologist from the state was assigned, a trauma specialist arrived. Tyler walked between the clusters like someone who'd been allowed back into a house he'd once lost. At midday, a reporter asked Emily for a statement. Her hands shook, but she managed to speak. We didn't vanish, she told the microphone, voice raw but steady. We were taken and remembered. And we were given back. That doesn't fix what was broken. But it means the choice doesn't have to be ours. We don't get bartered. Not anymore. The headline ran for days, Mystery Town collapses, missing teen returns. But that never fully captured what Emily felt, a bruise of memory and a stubborn ember of gratitude. Tyler's name ran in pieces, heroic, odd, anonymous. He didn't want the label. He wanted a shower and food and sleep. That night they sat on the porch together, no fog, no shadow, and the world around Orchard Lane felt, if not healed, then at least allowed to breathe. Emily held the bracelet in her palm. She looked at Tyler. You saved them, she whispered. He shrugged, then looked at the street with that old, odd gravity. We saved each other. She considered everything, Janice's notebook, Marcia's professional calm, Morales's absolute refusal to make a simple case fit a simple template. She thought of the switcher, of the way it had tilted its head, of how it had depended on a pattern of exchange. It had been broken, not by brute force, but by a refusal to play by its rules, and by a sacrifice that refused to be a trade. The morality of it settled on her like a stone. Some costs are borne by choice, some by fate, sometimes the two are the same thing. Before she closed her eyes that night, Emily pressed the bracelet to her chest once more. She whispered a promise to the empty dark, to the parents, to Janice, to the people who returned, and to the boy who would sleep again. I will not let that happen to anyone else. Tyler slept and dreamed of the lake, of sunlight and ordinary life. Emily slept and finally, for the first time in 11 years, dreamed a whole dream that did not end in white light. Part 7, What Remains When a Town Dies. Chapter 23, The Debriefing. 3 days after the collapse, Emily found herself in a federal building conference room under fluorescent lighting that hummed like tired bees. A stack of documents occupied the table before her, witness statements, cross-verified photos, satellite captures of fog anomalies vanishing with the sunrise. Marcia Brooks sat at one end, fingers steepled, eyes carefully neutral. She wasn't here as a friend. She was here as the official voice of the investigation. Across from Emily sat a psychologist, Dr. Darian Wells, whose calm presence masked a relentless intellect. On the far side, Detective Morales looked worn to threads, but grounded. He gave Emily a small nod that said, "I'm here, but follow your own pace." Tyler sat beside her, still pale but upright. His hand remained near hers on the table, not touching, but close enough to quiet the worst static of her thoughts. Marcia cleared her throat. "Emily, this is an official statement for the Interagency Task Force. You may pause at any time. Nothing here is punitive. Our goal is clarity." Emily nodded. Her mouth felt papery. Dr. Wells started. "Emily, can you describe what you remember about the switcher? In your own words." Emily paused. No matter how many times she rehearsed the moment, the memory still prickled under her skin like a cold rash. "It wasn't a creature," she said. "Not in the normal sense. It was a system. A mechanism. Something built on rules. It didn't understand individuality the way we do. It understood balance. Symmetry." Dr. Wells nodded. "And the rule Westlake operated on, no one leaves alone?" Emily nodded. "It was more than superstition. The town wouldn't hold shape unless an exchange occurred. You can't take one thread from a woven fabric without replacing it, or the pattern rips apart. And when you left," Wells said gently, "the town compensated by replacing you here." Emily's pulse quickened. She stared at the table. "I didn't know," she whispered. "I didn't know until the switcher said it. That someone who looked like me, stayed behind. A version of me who lived my life with my parents. But I don't remember her. My parents don't remember her. That's the part that scares me." Morales leaned forward. "Nothing about this is your fault." Emily let out a shaky breath. She wasn't sure she believed him, but she held the words anyway. Marcia interjected. "Emily, at any point during your time in Westlake, did you feel you were altering? Changing in ways you didn't notice in the moment?" Emily nodded slowly. "Yes, but the change was subtle. The longer I stayed, the more Westlake felt natural, and my memories of this life felt," she hesitated, "thin. Like copies of memories," Marcia suggested. Emily nodded. Dr. Wells scribbled something and asked, "Emily, do you remember the moment you began to believe Westlake was your home?" Emily's stomach twisted. "Yes. It was the morning after I arrived. The sun came through the blinds in a very specific way. The air smelled like lake water. The sounds of the town, kids shouting, bike bells ringing, felt familiar. Too familiar. Like deja vu. Tyler spoke for the first time, quiet and worn. That's how it gets you. You don't forget. It rewrites the meaning of what you remember. Emily nodded, grateful and heartbroken. And people there didn't talk about their pasts, she added. They couldn't. I think Westlake removed those parts from them. Or pressured them not to remember. Did you ever try to leave? Morales asked. Before the collapse? Emily froze. Tyler swallowed hard. Once, he said softly. She tried once. We walked past the diner to the road leading out. But the road blurred. It looped. We would walk for hours and end up back at the same oak tree. Emily whispered, I thought I was losing my mind. You weren't, Tyler said. It was the rule holding you in place. Marcia exhaled slowly, her composed mask slipping for an instant. We're classifying this event as a non-repeatable anomaly, she said. But Emily, if you regain additional memories or experience anything unusual, we need to know. Emily nodded. But something in Marcia's tone told her the agent believed Westlake wasn't finished. Not yet. Chapter 24, The Returnees. The high school gym had been transformed into an emergency recovery center. Blankets, bottled water, soft conversation, and a surreal hush filled the room. People wandered between tables like survivors of a shipwreck, glancing at faces and waiting for their own name to be called to see which life would return to them. Emily stood near the bleachers with Tyler and Janice. Some of the returnees were whole. Some were half missing, parts of themselves overwritten, parts held tight. A few stared into the middle distance as if they had left pieces of themselves behind in the collapsing fog. A woman in her 30s sobbed in her mother's arms. A teenager dropped to his knees when he recognized his older brother. A child clutched a stuffed bear from an FBI evidence bag and refused to let go. Janice whispered, "We owe them so much, and no words are enough." Emily put a hand on her shoulder. "You held on to the memory of Westlake longer than anyone. That's why this was possible." Janice wiped a tear. "I nearly lost it. There were days I told myself it was a dream." Tyler sat on the lowest bleacher step, elbows on knees, head bowed. "You okay?" Emily asked gently. He looked up with a tired smile. 11 years is a long time in a place that isn't real. I'm glad we're here now. But walking through the gym, it hits me how many lives were waiting. How much damage was done." Emily sat beside him. "Tyler, you didn't let it take anyone else. That matters." He looked at her, eyes full of something deeper. "I didn't save everyone. But I saved you." Emily's eyes warmed. "And you saved me," she whispered. "More than once." Tyler's hand brushed hers, hesitant, cautious, as if the world might forbid it. But his touch was warm. Human. True. In that moment she knew he wasn't a projection or a memory. He was hers, and she was his, and they had both fought to come home. Chapter 25, The House That Forgot. That evening, Emily returned home for the first time since the collapse. Not as a missing person. Not as a memory. But as a daughter. Laura had baked cookies, too many, too warm, and cried halfway through offering them. Michael set a place at the table as if it were a ritual he had practiced 1,000 times. But there were holes in the house. Not physical ones. Memory holes. The chipped tile Emily had remembered was still there. But the penny Laura said had been glued beneath it? Missing. The closet door where her childhood height marks should have been only had marks up to age 6. Then a gap. Then new marks from years she had never lived in this home. A silent moment stretched among the three of them. Laura whispered, "This house, it's like it lived 2 lives. Ours, and someone else's." Emily's throat tightened. "There was someone else," she whispered. "I'm sorry I forgot her." Michael touched her hand. "This isn't your burden alone." Laura nodded fiercely. "You were stolen from us. Not the other way around." Emily let herself cry then. Not for herself. Not for the missing years. But for the girl who lived those years in her place. A version of Emily who had loved these walls. Who had been loved. Who had vanished so that the real Emily could return. Michael wrapped her in an embrace. Laura whispered, "We'll grieve her together." Emily cried harder. Chapter 26, The One File That Wouldn't Close. 2 weeks later, the county closed the recovery center. People returned to their lives, shakily, imperfectly, but with the quiet resilience of those who had touched the border between worlds and come back changed. Emily joined a support group. Tyler moved into a temporary apartment near her home. Janice worked with the task force cataloging testimonies and drawing reconstructed maps of Westlake from memory. Morales retired early, citing burnout. Marcia stayed with the case. One afternoon, Marcia visited the Harrow home with a sealed envelope and a grim expression. "Emily," she said, "there's something you should see." Inside the envelope was a printed image. Taken from a road camera at 3:11 a.m. the night before Westlake collapsed. It showed a blurry patch of fog. But as Emily squinted, her blood ran cold. Because inside that fog, barely visible, was a figure. Tall. Thin. Head tilted. The switcher. Except, it wasn't flickering. It wasn't dissolving. It was walking away. Marcia's voice was low. "We believe not everything collapsed with the town. A fragment may have survived." Emily stared numbly. Marcia continued. "This was captured 30 miles away from Cedar Hollow. The fog dissipated after 10 minutes. No further sightings." Tyler entered behind them, saw the photo. And his body went rigid. "No," he whispered. No, it's gone. We destroyed Westlake." Marcia shook her head. "We destroyed the rule. But we may not have destroyed the entity." Emily looked up with dawning horror. "So it's still out there." Marcia's expression said everything. "It's wounded. Disoriented. But yes, something is still walking." The room felt unbearably still. Tyler whispered, "If it can't rebuild Westlake, what is it trying to do now?" Marcia handed them a second photo. Not grainy. Not distant. A clear shot. Of a mailbox. At the corner of Cedar and Mill. Emily's old imaginary landmark. Except now, fresh graffiti was etched into the back of the sign. One word. Slashed deeply into the metal. Wait. Emily felt the air leave her lungs. "It's calling me." Tyler reached for her hand, gripping it firmly. "No," he said. "It's testing you." Emily stared at the photo, trembling. The switcher was not rebuilding Westlake. It was searching. searching for a new rule, a new anchor, a new way to survive. And Emily knew, deep in her bones, that she wasn't done with it. Not yet. Part 8, The Last Echo. Chapter 27, The Message in the Graffiti. The word carved into the metal sign, "Wait." It throbbed in Emily's chest long after Marcia left the house. For hours, Emily sat at the dining table tracing the printed photograph. Tyler watched her silently. He knew better than to push. He simply sat close enough to be there if she needed him, far enough not to intrude. Finally, Emily whispered, "It's not trying to rebuild Westlake. It's trying to test boundaries. Trying to see if I'll respond the way it expects." Tyler nodded. "It's trying to see if the rule can be re-established. If it can tempt you back into a pattern." Emily swallowed hard. "What if it wants a new exchange?" she said shakily. "What if it wants a new town built around me?" Tyler's jaw tightened. "Then we make sure that never happens." Emily looked at him with a mix of fear and gratitude. "But how do you stop something that doesn't live, or die, or think, like us?" Tyler pointed at the photo again. "You broke its rule once," he said. "That hurt it. It's weaker now. It's probing. If it wanted to take you outright, it would have done it already." Emily exhaled. "So, what do we do?" Tyler looked at her with exhausted resolve. "We go to it. On our terms." Chapter 28, Return to the Boundary. That night, under a sky scraped clean of clouds, Emily, Tyler, Morales, and Marcia drove to Cedar End Mill, the intersection that technically didn't exist on any map, yet still felt like the hinge of the world. No fog. No impossible shimmer. Just a quiet rural road. But Emily could feel something in the air, a thrum just beneath her heartbeat, like stepping onto an old wooden floor, remembering the weight of the last person who walked it. Tyler stepped out with her. Marcia and Morales stayed near the car, equipment ready, cameras humming. Emily approached the sign where the graffiti appeared. Her flashlight traced the metal. The carved word, "Wait," was deeper in reality than the photograph showed. It dented the metal inward, as if pressed from the other side. Tyler whispered, "Emily, this is recent. You sure about this?" She nodded. And then the road darkened. Not dramatically. Not with fog. But as if all sound, all warmth, all expectation withdrew. A presence stirred. And from the tree lean, something stepped out. Chapter 29, The Switcher, Unbound. What emerged was not the towering, flickering figure from the fog. Not the inhuman sentinel of Westlake's rule. This form was smaller. Concentrated. Denser. Its limbs were the right length. Its posture nearly human. But its face shifted like ripples on the surface of water. For half a second, it wore Emily's face. Then Tyler's. Then a face she didn't know. Then it became blank again. The entity was no longer bound to balance. No longer tied to Westlake. It was learning. Experimenting. Evolving without rules. Emily stepped forward despite Tyler's hand reaching to stop her. "No," Emily whispered. "It came to me. It needs an answer." The switcher tilted its head. The motion was slower than before. Less confident. Unstable. It was injured. Emily Rowan. The voice pressed into her mind again. But this time, Emily didn't stagger. Why are you here? She demanded. The entity flickered. Westlake is gone. I know, Emily said. We broke it. We ended the rule. Balance must be restored. Emily shook her head. No. That rule is dead. You can't have it back. The switcher's posture stiffened. You will rebuild. Emily stepped closer. No. The entity flickered through a dozen silhouettes in an instant. Children, adults, shadows, reflections. As if scrolling through possibilities. You were chosen. Emily clenched her fists. I wasn't chosen, she said. I was stolen. The words broke something inside the entity. Its form buckled inward as if the declaration pierced its core. Its voice grew distorted. You must complete the pattern. Emily shook her head fiercely. There is no pattern anymore. No exchange. No rule. The switcher wavered. Tyler stepped beside her, voice steady. You don't get to tell us how to exist. Morales and Marcia watched from behind, stunned silent. Emily raised her voice. You can't take. You can't replace. You can't rewrite. Not anymore. The switcher froze. Then I have no place. Emily swallowed hard. She realized something then. Something terrible and compassionate at the same time. The switcher wasn't just a predator. It was a system. A mechanism. A function that no longer had a purpose. It didn't know how to stop. It only knew how to do the job it was created for. You don't need a place, Emily said softly. You need to let go. The switcher trembled. Ripples spread down its limbs. Its edges blurred. Its posture sagged. I cannot. Emily stepped closer still. Tyler grabbed her wrist but she shook him off. Yes, she whispered. You can. And she did something unthinkably brave. A gesture neither Marcia nor Morales would ever forget. Emily reached out and touched its arm. The switcher's form convulsed. In a stuttering cascade, its shifting faces stilled. Its flickers slowed. Its limbs softened. Emily closed her eyes. You're free, she whispered. You don't have to hold anyone. You don't have to take anyone. You don't have to keep a town alive. Let it go. The switcher shuddered violently. Then its body began to disintegrate. Not like smoke. Not like fog. But like sand finally released from a clenched fist. It collapsed inward, particles lifting like dust motes caught in sunlight. A wind passed, gentle, lifting the fragments higher. And just before the last of it vanished into the night sky, Emily heard a final whisper. Finished. Then it was gone. Chapter 30, The Aftermath of a Vanishing. Silence claimed the road. Emily collapsed to her knees. Tyler caught her before she hit the asphalt. Marcia rushed forward, shock etched deep in her face. Emily, what did you do? Emily looked at her hands. Her fingers trembled, but they were warm. Alive. I let it stop, she whispered. It didn't know how. Morales ran a hand over his face. Holy hell. Tyler held her, voice tight. You did it. It's gone, Em. Really gone. Emily leaned into him, exhausted but anchored. For the first time since her return, she felt whole. Not split between two worlds. Not haunted by a missing version of herself. Not shadowed by something from the fog. The rule was gone. The entity was gone. Westlake was gone. What remained was hers to rebuild. Chapter 31, A Town That Never Was. 1 week later, Emily stood at the edge of the now ordinary Cedar Hollow Road. A new street sign had been installed. No graffiti. No scars. No flicker. Tyler joined her with 2 mugs of coffee. "So," he said lightly, "what do we call this?" "Closure?" Emily smiled faintly. "Maybe the beginning." Tyler looked toward the horizon. "I've been thinking," he said slowly. "Maybe I'll start over here. In the real world this time. No fog. No rules." Emily's heart lifted. "I'd like that." He grinned. "Thought you might." She sipped her coffee. "Tyler, do you ever miss it?" He didn't have to ask what she meant. "Some mornings," he admitted. The smell of lake water. The sound of bikes on gravel. The way the air felt right before sunset. Emily nodded. "Yeah. Me too." "But," Tyler said, nudging her gently, "that wasn't home. This is." Emily smiled. "I know." They stood side by side as the sun rose, warm and certain in the sky. The fog never returned. The switcher never reappeared. The world moved on. Emily let it. Chapter 32, Emily Rowan's Future. 6 months later, Emily applied to study psychology, specializing in trauma, memory, and anomalous recovery. She wanted to help people whose stories didn't fit neatly into diagnosis codes. People who needed someone to believe them even when reality didn't. Tyler worked at a lakeside conservation center, helping restore wildlife areas and trails. He laughed more now. Slept deeper. Lived fully. Janice published a memoir about living with fractured memory. It became a quiet bestseller. Marcia stayed in touch. Sometimes to ask about details. Sometimes just to check in. Morales sent a Christmas card that read, "You remind me why people matter more than answers." Life grew roots again. Emily allowed herself to feel safe. Not because the world was simple. Not because nothing strange remained. But because she had survived the strangest thing the world had to offer. And chose who she became after it. Final chapter, The Lake's Echo. One warm summer evening, Tyler took Emily to an actual lake, one not shaped by fog or rules. They sat on the dock, their feet in the water, a blanket wrapped around their shoulders. The sun bled orange and pink across the horizon. Emily closed her eyes. The wind smelled like lake water. Tyler leaned in. "You look peaceful." She nodded. "For the first time in a long time." "I am." Tyler smiled. "You know what I think?" "What?" "That Westlake wasn't a place. It was a story. A bad one. And you rewrote the ending." Emily thought about that. Looked at him. Took his hand. "Maybe," she said softly. "But this." She squeezed his fingers. "This is the story I choose." A gentle breeze passed over the lake. No whisper. No fog. No echoes. Just water. Just wind. Just life. Emily breathed in. She breathed out. And with the last trace of fear leaving her body, she whispered to the quiet world, "I'm home. Have a nice day." Thank you for watching.